Hello you two! Today we are going to carry on thinking about this story and we are going to create a story map. So we're going to retell the story in pictures. Okay, let's go! So we're going to start by looking at the first page. And it's the pictures that are going to help us here. So I can see that on this page, Max is building a den. So that's what I'm going to draw on my story map. Draw a little tent like that, and he's using a hammer, so I could just draw a hammer to go with it. There we go. And I'm going to put a time adverb with this picture, and I'm going to start with one night. Can you draw this on your story map too? Okay, this is the next page of the book. So on this page we can see Max chasing his dog down the stairs. So could you draw a little picture of that as the next thing on your story map? And then you can choose a time adverb to go with it. I'm going to write next. What I love about this book is that you get so much more information from the pictures than you do from the words. Okay, have a think. What has happened in this picture? Why is Max in his bedroom? Can you draw a picture to show that? I'm going to draw Max being sent to bed without his dinner. I'm going to do some fish fingers, some chips and some peas. And then I'm crossing them out because Max has been sent to bed without his dinner. And I'm going to choose a time adverb of a little while later. Okay, now with a story map, you can tell the story as you go along. So let's go back to the first picture and think about what sentence we could have to talk about what's going on here. Going to go with one night, Max was building a den with a hammer. Next, he chased his dog down the stairs with a fork. A little while later, Max's mum sent him to bed without any dinner because he had been naughty. Then we can have a look at the next picture. What is happening here? There are trees growing in his bedroom, so that's what we can draw next. So you can draw this on your story map as well. your trees, and the ceiling hung with vines. So let's hang some down like that. And this was quite a surprise when this happened, so my time adverb is going to be just then. Just then, a forest grew in Max's room and the ceiling hung with vines. And then we can go back to the beginning and tell the story again. One night, Max was building a den with a hammer. Next, he chased his dog down the stairs with a fork. A little while later, Max's mum sent him to bed without any supper because he had been naughty. Just then, a forest grew in his bedroom, and the ceiling hung with vines. Now this is the next part of the story. So we can draw Max sailing on his boat. I'm going to do it down here. Put his name on it because it's his private boat. There we go. And we need a sentence starter for this sentence. And I'm actually going to use the word gently. So this isn't a time adverb, this is a how adverb for how Max's boat is sailing across the ocean. Gently, Max sailed across the ocean in a private boat. So then we go back to the beginning and tell our story. One night, Max was building a den with a hammer. Next, he chased his dog down the stairs with a fork. A little while later, Max was sent to bed without any supper because he was naughty. Just then, a forest grew in his bedroom and the ceiling hung with vines. Gently, Max sailed across the ocean in his private boat. I'm going to stop drawing now, but I'm going to show you some images from the book, and I want you to carry on with your story map. So for each picture, you draw your picture and write a sentence starter. It might be a time adverb that tells you when something happens, or it might be an ly adverb, a how adverb that tells us how something happens. Remember, each time you add a new picture, go back to the beginning and tell your story so you don't forget. So this is the next picture, and this shows Max arriving at the island. So I would draw a picture of the island. So you need to pause the video while this picture is on the screen to give you a chance to do your drawing, and then play the video again. Then when each picture is on the screen, pause the video again to give you time to do your picture and write your word. And when you're ready, play the video and it will move on to the next picture. Off you go! So now you should have a finished story map just like mine. If yours isn't finished, then rewind the video and go back through the pictures to make sure you've had time to draw every single section. Now your pictures won't be exactly the same as mine, and that is absolutely fine. You will have represented the story in a different way to me, but as long as you've got a picture for each part of the story, then that is fine. Okay, so we can go back and think about retelling our story out loud again. But this time, I want us to improve our sentences. So, can you add some adjectives to each part of your story? So I started with one night Max was building a den with a hammer. So I can either describe my den or I can describe the hammer. Can you think of an adjective to describe one or the other? I'm going to go with a metal hammer. So one night, Max was building a den with a metal hammer. Now I can move on to this picture. So the nouns in this picture are the dog and the fork. So let's think of an adjective for one or the other, or both. Okay, I'm going to describe the dog. I'm going to say, next, Max chased his poor defenceless dog down the stairs. Because I don't think the dog really stood a chance against Max. He was probably just minding his own business when Max decided to come and chase him. So next, Max chased his poor defenceless dog down the stairs with a sharp, pointy fork. So I've added 2 adjectives for the dog and 2 adjectives for the fork. I wonder if anyone can remember what type of sentence that is when we have 2 adjectives and another 2 adjectives. That's it, it's a 2A sentence. Right, let's go back to the beginning and make sure we remember everything we have added in. One night, Max built a den with a metal fork. Next, Max chased his poor defenceless dog down the stairs with a sharp, pointy fork. And if you want to write your adjectives on your story map so you remember them, that is absolutely fine as well. Okay, with this one, a little while later, we might be describing his dinner. And I think we can use a conjunction on this one. In fact, I think we already did use a conjunction on this one at the beginning. So we might not need to add anything here. A little while later, Max was sent to his room without any dinner because he had been naughty. So in this one, we have got a conjunction. So let's go back to the beginning to remember the story. One night, Max built a den with a metal hammer. Next, Max chased his poor defenceless dog down the stairs with a sharp, pointy fork. A little while later, Max was sent to bed without any supper because he had been naughty. So the next picture was just then Max's room turned into a forest. Now I think I'm going to use a conjunction here as well. I'm going to use the conjunction that. Just then Max's room turned into a forest that was full of trees and vines. So back to the beginning to remember the story. One night, Max was building a den with a metal hammer. Next, Max chased his poor defenceless dog down the stairs with a sharp, pointy fork. A little while later, Max was sent to bed without any supper because he had been naughty. Just then, a forest grew in Max's room that was full of trees and vines. So I want you to carry on doing this with your story map. So every picture, think about either some adjectives or a conjunction that can extend that sentence. And every time you add one, make sure you go back to the beginning and say your story out loud so you don't forget it. You will remember that we did something similar to this at school before Christmas. Okay, we have done story maps before. So remember, on each picture you're going to add either an adjective or a conjunction. Okay, pause the video, off you go. Okay, welcome back. So you should have got to the end of your story now. You should have added adjectives or conjunctions for each one of your pictures, and you should be able to recite your story. That means to say it out loud over and over again so you can remember it. Because tomorrow your task is to write this story using all the parts of the story that you have put together today. Okay, so it might be a good idea later on today to just look back at your story map and see if you can remember what you said, because tomorrow you are going to need to use it to write it. Okay, good luck with your stories tomorrow. I can't wait to read some of them if you email them in to the class email addresses, and I know that Miss Mika would love to see some from her class as well. Okay, bye for now.